Thanks, everyone. I just want to come. I know I'm audible, so I don't know, but I want to confirm that all teams are here. Opening off. Are you here and do you consent to be recorded?
I'm present.
Do you consent to be recorded?
Yes.
Okay. Oh. Are you here and do you consent to record it?
I'm here. I consent to be recorded, but I'll withdraw it in case I lose.
Okay. I hope Collins, you're noting this down. CG, do you consent to record it? CG.
Oh yeah. Me as whip, I consent to recording. I don't know if Eze does. Eze.
Okay, CEO, where's the movie? CEO, where's the movie? And I can't find on the call, which is funny. So we're going to proceed with introductions of the panel. My name is Sam. I'll be chairing. Pronouns he, him. I'd like other members of the panel to introduce themselves. Other members of the panel, please introduce yourself. I will start with Archimedes.
Hello, everyone. My name is Archimedes. I'll be a panelist for this round. Best of luck.
Hello, everyone. My name is Joy. I'm a panelist for this round.
And Joy. Collins. Collins.
Hello everyone, my name is Collins, analyst for the round. All the best. Good luck.
Halimat.
Hi everyone, my name is Halima and I'm also going to be a panelist.
I'm live. Oh, nice.
Sorry. That sounds like who's present.
Oh.
Raymond, ask your partner to mute himself. Raymond, I don't know how you can text your partner, but to tell them to mute you. Thanks. Halimat.
Hi everyone, I'm Halima and I'm going to be a panelist in the room. Best of luck, everyone.
Thanks. Ife.
Hi everyone, my name is Ife and I'll be a panelist in this round. Good luck to everyone.
JK.
I'm JK. Peace. I'm gonna be panelist for the round, so good luck to all teams.
CEO, are you here? You consent to be recorded, right? CEO, do you consent? Like you're wasting our time, we're not joking. Like you're wasting our time. Do you consent to being recorded? Thanks.
Consent, boss.
Yeah, sure. So we're going to start. Unfortunately, I don't want us to use the timer bot because it lags. Like it lags massively. That's like probably by 45 seconds. And it's bad because it's not fair. So I'm timing. I will post timestamps in the chat when POIs are open, when POIs are closed, and when it's 7 minutes. And I will unmute myself to let you know that the time is up at 7:15. So if you want to know how your time proceeds, like you should keep a personal timer. I'll only let people know once POIs are open and closed. Please stick POIs and let people know what your POI preference is at the start of your speech. So I think that's fair. We all know the motion. Prime is like at full.
Okay. Hi everyone. My name is Halimat and I'll be the Prime Minister for this round. And before I start, preferred gender pronoun is she or her. All POI should be by unmuting and just asking your POI. because I might not be looking at the chat space. I'm using my phone to prep. I'll be starting my speech now. Panel, there is something very important to note in this debate because one, the motion clearly states that these house are the members of the biological weapon can be used to neutralize half of the world's population. From the info slide, it is clear that the opposition teams cannot come to debate three things in this debate. And the first one is that they cannot come to discuss the technological progression, like, the world can progress and we might not necessarily need to do these things. Because first, our own model should look like, we have to neutralize all of the world's population and guarantee that its resources will last for another 1,000 years. Why do they have to defend on the opposition team? It's simply to say that we leave the world with no choice or the world will come to an end in absolute decade and then leave people to continue utilizing the world resources. The reason why what I stated now is very important is because of three things. Because one, this debate has to do with one, absolute certainty. Three, inability to avoid extinction. And then thirdly, the undercover covert. I'll be moving straight to how our model will work. Our model is to say that we are going to neutralize half of the world population and people to ensure that we're able to use the earth resources for more than 1,000 years or even more. The kind of people that will be using in these stages are one, people at old age that are close likely to die. Secondly is terminally ill people that are close to death. And then the third persons that would most likely kill or neutralize are people that are trying to commit suicide and which were consent that's illegal in society. These people that are most likely to commit suicide are people that we think that they are no more conducive and comfortable to live in the present world. So these are the three people that we are going to keep in our own debate. So what would be the mechanism that would work with this? I think that our model and our mechanism will work because it would be effective because of three reasons. One, think that first, our model will be working in the undercover covers. It means that people do not have knowledge of this killing. And secondly, we also think that presently in the world's population, 70% of China are even people in old age because we see how China is complaining of people that they don't have youth that can utilize their resources and all of those things. We think that when we take out 70% of this, okay, I'll take you soon. We think that we take out 70% of these populations that are old age and we even take out people that are terminally ill. We think that we would even exceed that mark of the half of the population of people. And because of that, we are able to help the health sustain better. Panel. The second thing to note in this debate is that our own model is one that is hinged on the fact that this principle lies on the principle of human survival and sustainability. We think that all principles that might run in this debate, closing and opening, would definitely hinge on this principle of human survival. Because we think that the first human instinct depends on the principle of human rights, principle of human voice and freedom of speech or conscience. All of those things lies on the ability for human life or humanity to continue to exist. I think that the reason why opposition's model is most likely not going to be very effective in this debate or not going to have much benefit to humanity himself is because their own certainty is one that is even hinged on uncertainty. What it simply means is that if they say they're going to continue to live the earth and live with the choice to sustain for a decade or more. We think that because there is an inch of choice on it, we think that at the end of the day, choice is not as certain as our model, which says that when we certainly kill this half of the population, we're able to sustain human life and human existence in itself. We think that everything that humans want to fight for, including their rights of consent or freedom, everything needs to depend on them surviving or them existing in the first instance. Because this principle of human survival and stability is one that every other principle hinges on. I think that it is legitimate for us to do this and we'll do it. Panel, secondly, we even talked about the acceptability of this principle by people. We think that, if up wants to run people, if we kill them undercover and all of those things, at the end of the day, it might run out and people will not want to consent. I think that this is not possible because everybody, at the end of the day, the site, everybody is bound to die. And because these three people that will be using these models are people that are they are old, they are people that are terminal and all of those things, that people will most likely consent because the first instinct of human existence itself is selfishness. I think that because of human selfishness, to understand that not only does their life existence is tied to our model, I think that because they believe that their legacy is tied to this model, the existence of human in and of themselves is to leave something behind. So that the existence that people live legacies, and they want to have their names continued or like their son names, all of those things continue. The thing they built on it, not just for themselves, but for their family. They think that there is just a certain population, like the old age and all of those people that are like most likely even going to die, and we are helping to like take all of this like population out to sustain all of them. I think that people will most likely consent to our model. We think that this is what is beneficial for these people, or even for like the Thanos community itself. Secondly, panel, you think that's what would happen like if you don't even accept our all right, shoot.
This is not fiction. Biological weapons do not just work like in the way you are trying to paint it, where you just target terminally ill people and people that want to commit suicide. Show us how that in itself is possible, because currently even the best of science and the rest of them cannot effectively do that. You can't just fear.
Panel notes. I'm a cell biology and genetic student, and I understand the real concept behind weapons. Biological weapons are simply weapons that are used to wipe out the population, depending on how it's targeted. We think that viruses spread faster, and because like we might not necessarily use viruses that are spreading faster, there are different ways by biological weapons can be used. In my first speech, like in the first piece of my speech, I already explained that we're going to target this set of population. It is very easy because what we simply do is to go into like healthcare homes that contain this population of these old people, and then use these biological weapons. Could even be as small as a bacteria, and then use it into their food, all of those things, and then use it to clear them out. We think that if this goes out, as long as human instinct of survival and selfishness, people want to consent to using this, because at the end of the day, they are losing people that are most likely not like contributing to the health resources in and of the first place. And the reason why we are doing this is to even help all of these other people sustain the resources and help human existence continue. I think that even in some countries, even people that dies at old age are already celebrated by the society, like their deaths are even celebrated in some cases. And even in some instances, some people even like go ahead to even like people even go ahead to like resent the death of people that commit suicide from their family and all of those things. We think that first, if you are even taking people that have committed illegal things to society, which are these people that are like tired of like living on this earth and all of those, now we then take them like people that we catch in the heart. We are going to like use these people and like kill them. It is very easy to target weapons. That is why like weapons exist, right? If I don't want to kill a large population, everybody, I can simply put out this population in specific place and kill them. I think that what everybody wants to run in his speech would not even run in his speech. So everybody start thinking of something else. Panel, we think that it is very important to note three things in this debate. First thing to note, the first thing is to note is that everybody that wants to run into the must keep in mind that this principle lies on the principle of human survival and sustainability. On that side, we are proud to propose. Thank you.
Thanks, Prime Minister, for that speech. The leader of opposition has the floor. If you're speaking, you're not audible, so we can't hear you. So probably you need to reconnect or something. Or then if you're speaking, we can't hear you. You're audible now, so you can start.
Okay.
Hello, can you start? You are muted again. So if you are saying something behind them, we can't hear you. So you have to unmute yourself now. Raymond, please, can you contact your partner that they are muted so we can hear them? So if they are saying something, we can hear.
So please, am I audible now? Sorry I thought I was unmuted.
You're audible, you can start.
Okay. Please, I made my note on my phone. So once is my 6 minutes to unlock. So I start my speech in 3, 2, 1. So panel, the first flaw that's coming from the case of the opening government is the fact that they do not clearly give you a model, right? They tell you you are going to be taking 3 categories of people. We had some very stupid arguments of
I can't hear them anymore because it's muted. Raymond, please tell your partner that you're muted again. So I can't hear them.
please, I'm out. Jesus.
Yeah, you have to stop muting yourself. Yeah, because of time. So you have to start again. Because you just used 16 seconds, so you have to start again.
Oh, perfect. So 3, 2, 1. Panel, the first law you get coming from the opening government is that the model they get is one that just is not practicable at best. They tell you you are going to kill 3 categories of people: the old, those that want to commit suicide, and the other one, as if they'll just disappear from earth and nobody would ask questions, or as if they are like as it would be asked from his POI, there are clearly cut scientific measures of determining who is who. So the best case scenario in their world is that you get to kill individuals for to commit suicide by like medical means, right? Because there are actually there's no certainty about that particular issue. Now, that's the main case, right? We have to interrogate the interests which this Thanos thing has in and of itself, right? And we have identified 2 of them basically. And the first of all is simple. They have an interest not just in seeing to the fact that the world survives as we know it, right? But what they have an interest more in is, in fact, seeing to the fact that the world survives and actually has a very good habitable environment to live. If not, they would have just said, okay, everybody should like just stay, and while they starve, individuals can kill themselves to get food to eat, right? But in order to avoid this, that's why we're even contemplating this motion in the first place. Because the reason we want individuals to survive is so that they can live as humans. What they want is not the protection of Earth alone, but it's in the protection of humans, which obviously has quite enough components, not just in the fact that they are humans and they breathe, but in the fact that they are humans and they live and feel. Why this is particularly important is that in their world, I'm going to show you how you do not achieve this at all, and you go against the very thing that they exist for, which is the protection of humanity and everything that comes with it. Second interest is in saving themselves from annihilation, right? So what this would mean is that one of the very important interests which this particular project has is to see to the fact that it keeps surviving in and of itself. So what I would like, what I'm going to show you, their world, you get to see a complete annihilation of this particular project in and of itself. But the first thing you have to understand is the issue of agency. For legitimacy to occur, to exist for a particular action, it would mean that there is a certain level of responsibility on that particular actor to act. So the government has a responsibility of protecting our citizens. So even if she goes to extremes of as doing that particular job, then we can say, oh, there is justification. So responsibility is a very important thing in justification for a particular action, right? Now, justification does not exist for this particular action because what these people are at best just a project, right, that have a particular aim. Everybody has aims, right? Different humans have aims on Earth, but then the reason why they have legitimacy to act, and even in this instance, to act in very extreme measures that is detrimental absolutely to half of the population of humanity, which they want to protect and who have their individual rights to consent and their individual sovereignty pertaining to countries. Now, it's one that requires that particular level of agency and legitimacy, and that's something we think they don't have, right? Because there is no authorization put on them by either individuals within society or countries, right? This is simply because humans don't even know they exist. So what it's going to fucking look like is that humans will wake up one day and their dad is gone, or their sisters are gone, or their brothers are gone. the impact I'm going to be showing you is one that is significantly disastrous and should be something that we, as Thanos, should avoid. A number of things, right? First of all, the body does not have the legitimacy to carry out this action because it does not have the endorsement of every country. So it's principally wrong to do this, like I've told you. So why should Code Thanos care about the fact that they don't have this legitimacy? Two things. First, I've told you that its sole aim is not just preserving humans, but preserving the humanity in humanity. So if they do this, if they carry out this particular action, it goes against their very sole aim of existing. I've actually analyzed how that is true to you. Secondly, is that understand that individuals within this particular Code Thanos, who are humans by the way, respective obligations to both their family and the society they come from. So the obligation they have is not one to go and kill them. If anything, if they want to like generally, right, what it would look like is a Nigerian has an obligation to vote for the betterment of society, but he does not have an obligation to kill someone just because he thinks that person is a criminal. This applies there. They have an obligation to protect the state, but they don't have an obligation to kill, to decide on who dies or who lives in order to like even protect the state at that, right? Because they don't have that agency and that responsibility put on them. Why this is particularly important is that to the extent they have responsibilities on their as well as is that a POI?
Yes, that's a POI, OG.
No.
POI from OG.
Let me hear you.
Should we all die then? Why should we all die then?
No, we are going to die in both worlds. What I'm trying to show you is how the 980 more years you want us to live on this earth is not worth it, right? It's basically, we are not going to be like basically living as we are living now. In fact, the reason why Code Thanos wants to protect us now is one that is going to fade away within 1 year after taking this particular action. So we will both die in both worlds. We just think that even if we die now, it's significantly justified because we die as humans that still have one, the dignity of humanity, and secondly, the peculiarities whatsoever that come with being human. Because if we dislike being human, wars are going to arrive and the rest of that. I'll analyze to you. If I don't do that, then my partner will because of time, right? Secondly, let's even assume that it does have the endorsement of every single country on earth. Two things. One, there would be likely disagreements among different countries due to conflicting ideologies, right? So even if you want to go and say, okay, we'll get the endorsement of every single country, different countries would have different interests, right? Different countries would want to like be at the top. Different countries want to save their own first. So definitely it's going to be like a war for them. But then very importantly, right? Understand the war that is going to ensue in this particular instance. Imagine in an instance where a Ukrainian wakes up from bed and doesn't see his mother, or the Russian president just wakes up from bed and doesn't see any other person, like his family or whatsoever, right? Understand that the nature of conflicts that have existed, that exist currently within the international sphere, is one that causes like large levels of insecurity. So what that would mean is the Russian president perceiving the Ukrainian soldiers as having killed his family, right? And all of that, because we don't get a clear model from these guys by saying, okay, we are going to. We don't get the clear model from these guys when they they say we are going to call people out to a particular sphere and burn them while they watch us kill them, right? So we are going to assume, okay, that they are going to be stolen secretly, right? So what that would mean is that in that particular instance, we get like to see more wars springing up. Panel, even if we want to say we will take oath, please, is my time up?
Time up. Yeah, your time is up. Yeah, sure. Yeah, thanks very much. Hello. The purpose of having time stamps in the chat so you can check them. If you can't, have a timer in the background, because when I say time up, none of the judges are taking notes. You're probably just wasting your time. DPM, you have the floor.
So I just want to confirm if I can be heard clearly,
Yeah.
because I don't know. Clearly, yeah?
Yeah.
All right, beautiful. So, hi everybody. I'll be the DPM. Nice to be here. I'll take POIs in the text space. Please don't omit at any point. If you have a POI, please put it in the text space. I'm looking at the text space. So, just give me like 5 seconds and just arrange my notes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Then. So I'm going to start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panel, ladies and gentlemen, the very first thing you have to realize in this debate is that principles don't exist in a vacuum. That's exactly what people have to believe. All want you to believe that this is principally justified for us not to kill anybody just because all of us should die now. We're going to die. We're going to die regardless. So it means that we should not do anything because, of course, we have to respect principle at every particular point in time. That's really, really inconsequential because principles don't exist in a vacuum, just like I said. Principles exist for utilitarian purposes. So somebody tell you that you believe in God. God exists, and religion or believing in Allah is supposed to be the supreme thing. It doesn't just exist in a bubble. They want you to do that so that you can believe that you have utilitarian benefits, something like going to hell or going to heaven. It means that if you are going to pray, you're not just doing it because you believe it is principally right. You are doing it because you believe that God is not going to punish you in the hereafter. And that particular point in time, you believe that you're going to go to paradise when you take that particular action. What this means is that for every principle, there's always a pragmatic outcome. Up cannot argue this debate and just tell you that the principally illegitimate for you to take away people's life. We think that's something that is immoral. Let's engage some of the things you get from my partner and then how they already respond to these things. Our model was simple. Our model, since they are going to be able to pick a population of people to be able to wipe out the whole population, the terminally ill, and people who are bound for suicide. What that means is that this population of people are most likely going to be able to reach the cap of half of the world population as even surpasses. Because, for example, China, which is the largest population, will have almost 70% and plus of people who are aged within the very old age brackets. And that's why we are complaining about having less amount of individuals that do not exist within the young age bracket and propagating that people should give birth more. Why is this the best model? Why? Because survival is hinged on productivity. This is the model that any of the side gov has to follow. If you say you want to do things like randomization of individuals that are going to die, it's going to cost you because the productivity that you want to achieve in the long run is definitely on a probability. In our world, we're able to limit that probability to have more favors on our end. What it looks like is that if you want to do randomized killing of individuals, you have the ability to take away the people who are going to help you in the continuous productivity and sustainability of the world in the long run. It means then that you have to be careful, rational, and very decisive about the amount of individuals and the kind of individuals you want to take away in the long run. What's the worst case scenario? The worst case scenario is that people outside this bracket are definitely taken away. Maybe people that are not old, people that are not terminally ill, and people who are not, bound for suicide. They are taken away. We tell you that that is justified in and of itself, even if those brackets are ultimately taken away, regardless. Because at the end of the day, even if they are taken away, the amount of individuals that are going to be taken away, and the individuals are going to be definitely minute. Taking away them minute is definitely justified because of the principles you get from my partner. Number one, the principle of human survival. All the rights, duties, obligations, everything that you get from up, and you're still going to get from them, are hinged on the idea that we want humans to be able to survive. We tell people you need to pay taxes. Can I be heard? Samuel, can you hear me?
Continue.
Yeah, we pay taxes so that the country can get better. If get better, we can increase the longevity of human sustainability. We tell people don't have right to life. The reason why we tell people have right to life is not just because it exists in a vacuum. We tell them have right to life, so nobody can kill you anyhow. If nobody can kill you anyhow, that means the human race as a whole can ultimately continuously exist. That means your rights, obligations, duties, every single thing is contingent on an utilitarian principle. That utilitarian principle is the longevity of humanity. So every single thing that UP is going to tell you, and I've already told you, is definitely contingent to the fact that we need human beings to be able to sustain more. But also talk to you on the principle of acceptability of individuals. But before then, let me engage with them from CG because CG says, we can't just target people. How are we going to target people? Firstly, this debate is an imaginative one. So it means that we have the fiat as side gov to ultimately prefer a solution that is also imaginative as far as the mechanism that can ultimately achieve that solution. The partner has done a beautiful job to show you how you can target people who are old by injecting bacteria, for example, in nursing homes and things like that. We also think that the presumption of the mechanism itself is enough mechanism for individuals to be able to engage into this debate. I don't think that this debate should be about the mechanism per se. It's about the principle and of course the pragmatics that ultimately happen in that regard. But at the end of the day, what does it look like for us? We think that there's more room for acceptability because the second worst case scenario is that people are going to find out. Just like UP tells you, people are going to find out. And you wake up one day and you see that your mother is dead, or your grandfather is dead, or somebody that is terminally ill is dead. Why is that not a problem in our world? Number one, because of the human instincts of survival. Everybody knows we're going to die regardless, but there's always a human instinct for hope, evolution, and progress. At that particular point in time, even if you want to die, even if you know that people are going to die, at the point where you realize that you're dying, you are still struggling for people to come and save you. At that particular point in time, you realize that individuals have an instinct for survival and progressivism. You're going to feel bad, of course, that your parents were taken away. But then, number one, the impact is lessened because of the category of people that were taken out of, obviously. You know that your grandfather or your great grandmother is most likely going to die regardless, or your terminally ill person or your friend is going to die regardless. At that particular point in time, it's not going to hurt you as much as it's going to hurt you if you are the one that is taking, or you're the one that is dead at that particular point in time. We think the acceptability itself is one that's most likely going to be on our side and is most likely going to favor us in the long run. But at the end of the day, let's talk about the idea behind the legitimacy and how you get that from side open opposition. They tell you, we don't have legitimacy. Two responses. Number one, for such a powerful project, we think that countries from everywhere around the world are most likely going to be involved because we need to do things like share resources, share intellect, and ultimately share the ability for us to have legal proceedings, even if it is covert. But secondly, even if we don't, there's an incentive to collaborate. This or open opposition tells you there's no incentive to collaborate because everybody wants to be at the top. This is about the entire world dying, for crying out loud. It means there's an incentive for individuals to agree that this is something we need to do for the sustainability of humans in the long run. We think that that's something that you get exclusively from side open opposition. But let's talk about what their war inside up is going to look like. What the war inside up is going to look like if they eventually do it. Number two, there are two things. Even if you don't take an alternative and you say you leave it the way it is, and maybe in 10 years you die, the condition that you live within that 10 years is extremely harmful. Fossil fuels, all the depletion, wars, tycoons, floods, earthquakes, every single thing that's currently happening will constantly happen for in between that 10 years. People are living in anguish, people are living in fear, people are living in terror. And at that particular point in time when you realize that when people realize there's an alternative, what people have for themselves is hatred, because they realize there's something we should have done to ultimately allow for ourselves to live a longer life in the long run. If you give yourself longer time, you have the opportunity to be able to establish more solutions in the future, which can give you 2,000 years more, 3,000 years more, 4,000 years more. If you die now in the next 10 years, there is no alternative because there's absolute certainty they are going to die anyways. We think in our world, you give more opportunity for sustainability, but also you allow for individuals to be able to live. Panel, even in Ops case where they take their solution, people are going to live in anguish and terror. We're proud to do that from side OG.
I'd like to thank the DPM for that speech. That concludes the case for OG. To conclude the front half, yellow.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud.
All right. If you have a PO, ask in the text space. All right. Speaker, there's something you have to understand with this debate, and it is like, oh, he says, oh, the model is not important, focus on the principles. I want to talk about the model a little bit. I mean, I might be suicidal. How do you know I'm suicidal? I mean, I could have stage 1 cancer. How do you know I have stage 1 cancer? I mean, like, we're not dumb. Let's like be serious with this debate. But then I don't think that all of those demographics that they have highlighted are even going to be enough to like reach like 50% of the world's population, because we think that overall there's like, you know, youthful populations all over the world except in this part, right? Because you cannot say, oh, because China has a lot of old people. The average age for people in Nigeria is 18 years of age. So you are making noise. So it cannot be like the the benchmark for it to like, you know, generalize and say that you have all of these people. But more importantly, understand the nature of privilege and why this is not going to happen importantly. Because I want to show you why the people who are actually going to die are people who are from like marginalized communities, black communities, people who are from poorer countries and all those kinds of things, because it's a very important context, right? Understand that this is undercover. They tell you that all the countries of the world are going to be involved. The thing that the reality is that the powerful countries of the world are going to be particularly responsible for something like this. Right? It means that it's possibly like only the members of the United Nations Security Council or something like that. It means that these are the people who are particularly going to like oversee a project like this. The problem with that is that these powerful countries are only after their own interests. It means that they want to ensure that there is more protection for people from their own country, even if it is at the expense of other parts of the world. It means that we're more likely to see things like genocide at a higher scale, where people are going to like, you know, people in like, you know, Asian, poorer Asian, black, and like, you know, Indian communities are going to lose their lives a lot more compared to these other people, because we think that the metric for determining who is like, you know, sickly or those kinds of things will never really happen as it is. But then I think that that'll build a lot of like, you know, the model. Let's talk about the principle here. We think that they have never really told us why this organization as it is has that particular agency to take this action. Because it is one thing to embark on research to say, okay, these are the choices that we have. It's another thing to execute an action that affects 100% of the world. Because I think that the principal understanding you need to have is that even if only 50% are dying, the 50% who die have some unbreakable link with the rest of the world. It means that people's family members, people's relations, co-workers, and stuff like that are losing their lives in the process, whether you like it or not. Why do we think that this is very important? It means that as an organization, that legitimacy does not exist simply because several countries are involved, right? To think that it's not possible for all the countries of the world to be involved because of this asymmetry of power that exists in the globe. What's more important, we think that as an organization that is focused on experiments, they don't have that agency to make a choice that affects all of the world. Only people who have that kind of agency are like the UN or those kinds of things, and even then it is something that is very streamlined. Right. Now, they tell you that the death is going to be minute and it is going to be unnoticeable, right? But that was what they said with COVID. When COVID started, I think that 70% of the casualties for COVID were people who were over 60 years of age, people who are old, so nobody should raise an eyebrow. But then eyebrows were raised. People were in panic for a long period of time before we really got a grasp of what is going to happen. It means that something like that is also going to happen in this instance. Whether it is old people, the thing is that when people die in their numbers within the particular demography, there is worry. What is going to happen, right? It basically means that you're more likely to have crazy high panic in this kind of world where you take this action. Think of when Thanos snaps, but then in real life, right? Think of COVID, right? We think that there is the possibility of all-out war because countries are going to accuse one another, right? Basically, people are going to think that the others are using chemical weapons to take them out. People are going to accuse they are war enemies. It's going to lead to a full-blown war where we really don't know what's happening, right? Because basically people are disappearing every single day all around. It is going to be cause of panic. We think that the counterfactual here, this is where I bite the bullet very importantly, right? Remember that the counterfactual for us is to defend a world where we all die in a couple of decades. We think that what they have to defend is this world where there is chaos in the world for the next 1,000 years that they have prolonged it for, right? Because the understanding you need to have is that what happens when people suddenly start disappearing around you is on two levels. First, the level of chaos and confusion that comes from disagreement, blame throwing, and those kinds of things that is going to lead to possibly another world war. But more importantly, on the second level, that the quality of life of people who exist on Earth is significantly harmed, right? Because these people share strong bonds, share strong relationships with several people who are going to lose their lives. I think that is an experience that ruins the rest of their lives. It means that basically all of those extra years that you buy for them is no longer going because of how they live, how people are going to grieve for the rest of their lives. These are the kinds of losses that cause these kinds of problems. So think that even when one person dies, and you're in mourning, but then what this happens on the scale that they talk about, it means that it is giant one. Literally every member of the world is harmed in one way or the other. I think that is something that significantly makes it a very bad idea. The next thing we want to talk about is on the idea that this has on how this is a genocide in and of itself. The basic definition of what is happening is that it's a group of people who do not have the agency to act have decided to wipe out half of the world. It is tantamount to a genocide and nothing more. If I give you that analysis, should CG.
Okay. Yeah. So the thing is that you are talking about us wiping 50 of the population. Justify why every person needs to die and the 50 don't survive.
All right. So the justification for this action is that this is a natural cause of events, right? We think that when an earthquake happens and half of the world dies from an earthquake, it is more legitimate than using your hand. Basically, it is like the first principle there for justification is the respect for nature in and of itself and the original cause of the world, right? Because I think that the reason we're having struggling with resources because we are fucking shit up. We're basically playing with stuff and we actually cost all of the harm that we have. We think that the natural progression of life, where people can actually have life at the quality that they currently have it for the next couple of decades, is something that is more worth it than when you fuck the entire world up because all of this harm. It means that the quality of life that they have at the end of the day is no longer worth it. We think that the principle upon which you justify the longevity of life is that it is a good life. Our argument from OO is that life is no longer good when you kill half of us. It means that those who live are constantly in fear that something else is going to happen, that is going to take another half of the world or those kinds of things. So think that when the quality of life is no longer worth it, we should as well all die. Proud to oppose.
Thank you very much, dear love, for that speech. I will close the front half of the debate to begin the back half. MG. You are cutting out easy. Yeah, you're breaking. Yeah, you're breaking badly. No, you are breaking.
Just give this. Okay, give me a second to record.
Yeah, if you're speaking easy, we can't hear.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're audible now. I just want to know if you can like probably just read out the maybe the motion of the slide.
This house, as the members of the experimenting board of Code Thanos, would pick the first choice.
Yeah, you can start.
Okay, thank you. Please just give me 30 seconds. Okay. So I'm going to take POIs in the chat exclusively. Yeah. Okay, I think I'm going to start in 3, 2, and go on. So, guys, the problem with opening opposition is that they attack the wrong things about OG's skills, right? Just at the top of my speech, I'm going to say that OG is right. Yeah. We think that the way biological weapons work is such that they can be genetically modified to attack, even if you wanted to take out children or you want to take out whatever. But because we want to win this very clearly, right? I'm going to bite the bullet. I'm going to argue that even if our mother was going to be random death, that we're very happy to choose that. Yeah. But
You're out now, easy. You're no longer audible.
let me just take out.
You're no longer audible. You're breaking. Is it just your like it is breaking?
Else will not happen. See, guys, human beings are into selfish. Once you survive, you are happy that the worst. Can you hear me now?
No, it's bad. You've been breaking. Like you've been breaking up most of the time. A long time ago. Izzy, can you hear? Hello?
Clearly.
Yeah, you're clear at some point, and then you cut out for a moment again. It's not stable.
Could you speak again? I knew you were speaking. I couldn't hear you.
We can hear you at some point and then it breaks off again. It's like it's unstable. So, like I heard the first 36 seconds of your speech and then you cut out. Izzy, can you hear?
I moved to a different location. So let me see if this works. I'll read the motion again. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, it seems I'm lagging also on your end. But can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you clearly.
Okay, fair enough. So I lost you when you after you said that you're willing to bite the bullet on the model, and that was at 36 seconds.
Okay, let me just read the motion to be sure that I'm still clearly audible. This House, as the members of the experimenting board of Code Thanos, would pick the first choice. Is that clear?
Yeah, it's clear.
Okay, I'll try not to move my hand again. Ish. Okay. So I'm going to bite the bullet. Okay, so I'll restart in 3, 2, 1. So
You did restart. you're cut out again. So like I don't know. You have to text your partner at this point.
Yeah,
So
I'm trying. I'm trying.
I can hear you clearly. Can you
Yeah,
hear me?
you cut out. Yeah, you cut out again once you're about to restart.
Yeah, that was a call. I'm sorry, that one was not network. It was a call. I just got the call.
Okay, sure.
Okay. So I'm going to restart in 3, 2, 1. So like I said, there isn't going to be chaos, right? See, we think that human beings are intuitively selfish. At worst case scenario, once you survive, if you are happy that the worst has passed. Worst case scenario, you vote out that government, or even if you claim this is genocide, as you know, this guy tries to claim DLO. Those people are trying in the ICC, and that's it, right? But I'm going to show you why, as a committee, we're also very happy to leave out this worst case scenario where we make decision and we die. But guys, let's just be very clear, right? You can't argue things like, oh, these people don't have the power to make decision in a policy motion. The motion, you have to allow gov teams the option of fiat. Like the motion assumes that the individuals in question or the actor is able to make that sort of decision. See, the best thing that this guy should be arguing, and I'm hoping that's what going to come out of CO, is that the choice of who lives or dies shouldn't be in the hands of another human being, right? If they're clever, they can show that this model is likely to introduce bias because the committee will want to save their family members. All that. That's the best case. These guys can argue, not this, mechanism that happened. So what I'm going to do is to first and foremost, to that best case scenario guys were supposed to argue for, and then I'm going to talk about why we think that this debate is an actor and why we think it's the best interest of this individual just to make this choice, albeit. So firstly, we think that even if you claim this choice of who lives or dies for whatever legitimate reason, two responses. One, social contract theory works, and guys, you literally give to determine how your life procreation model.
No, I hear you. This. So Is you're no longer audible. And Henry, I hope you have tried to contact your partner.
Yeah. I'm on it.
Yeah, so I'll just allow you guys like 1 minute. So like if Izzy cuts out again, you have to complete the rest of the speech. And I'll allow you 1 minute to get him back on the call, but then you should let him know that he cuts out again, you have to complete the rest of the speech. Yeah, you're audible again, Izzy.
Just keep taking the speech in bits and pieces. I'm actually not moving around, so I don't know why it's connecting at some point. The network is green. I don't know what's happening exactly. So just tell me why I called out, and I'll continue from there.
You had 2 minutes and 30 seconds up on your clock, but then you were talking about legitimacy and as a response to opening opposition, and then you wanted to start with social contracts, which is where I couldn't make out what you were saying anymore.
Okay, so I'll just restart that in 3, 2, 1. So I said the best case that GovUp is going to run is that the choice of who lives or dies shouldn't be in the hands of these individuals, right? 2 responses to this. 1 is that this is how social contract theory works, guys. When you vote in government or when you allow people to lord over you or rule over you in whatever, it's like in autocracy or democracy or whatever, you literally give government the power to determine how your life turns out, right? This looks like the quality of education you can have, which determines the kind of job you're able to get, in the quality of healthcare you have, which determines whether you live or die at 20 or at 40, right? Even procreation models are determined by government in many instances, like the China, like one child, policy. The government can even start a war on your behalf. Right? What it means ultimately is that you literally know that government can make a decision that will kill you, but you trust them anyway to do that because that needs by basically how society is built to become cohesive, right? But the second response is that the alternative on upside is still the choice that government is making for you, which is to give all humanity a little over 10 years or so. So it means that you can't really buy, Raymond's bullshit argument when he says, well, that the alternative is that's not what it is. The alternative is that these same communities are 50% in today's debate. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now continue.
I'm tired too. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you, Izzy. So like for one last time, like if you call out again, I'll just like allow your partner to finish the rest of the speech. That's it.
Oh well. I'm not sure what else can happen. Okay. Just give me a moment to Can you still hear me now?
Yeah, I can still hear you. So I'm saying that if you call out again, like your partner will have to complete your speech.
Okay. You're assuming very boldly that my partner has better network in Uganda. Okay. Shit. What did I cut off? This is really disturbing my speech. What did I cut off?
You already explained social contract theory as the response to OO, and then you were on to the second response before
to restart in three. Who's Miletus? Okay, I'm going to restart in 3, 2, 1. So the second response is that the alternative is the choice that government is making for you, which is to give all of humanity a little over 10 years or so. So don't buy Raymond's bullshit when he says, that the alternative is that you die natural death. The alternative is still a choice that these individuals themselves are making. So on both sides, our argument on share contracts say what? Because somebody's making that decision on your behalf. What we're going to argue is that the choice to allow 50% to get into this lottery is one that is better off, right? It's one that is better, and that's what we're going to argue. Okay, so let's talk about what the main things in this debate. We think that this debate is an actor motion, right? So it means that we need to characterize the kind of actor here and why they're likely to take, why they're better off taking the first decision. Notice that these types of people are people who look at long-term utility. Guys, the committee literally is about human survival in the first place. It means that by legitimacy and by obligation, their job is to make the best decision that guarantees human survival for the longest possible time. But it means that these individuals are they have longevity as their job description. Naturally, right? You can't be in a committee that makes a decision about human survival and you choose to make a decision that guarantees that human survival is going to capitulate in 10 years or in 20 years or even 90 years. We think that jeopardizes the essence of the committee in the first instance, and we think that is more or less like them shooting themselves in their foot principally. So if you really want to do that principle thing that OO wants to talk about, we think that it goes against them because you really need to be ideologically consistent. If you are a committee that is set up, for the survival of human race, we think that you should make the decision to ensure that human race is able to survive. Guys, I'm scared that if I take it, don't worry, ask Henry. Okay, so the second thing about these guys is that they care about their legacy, right? This is why we want to buy that bullet that Raymond gives us, because even if you claim this is genocide and these people are going to, be tried and they're going to die and all of this sort of things, we think they're still going to do this. Why? These individuals want to be heroic. They want to be remembered for all of that 1,000 years, right? They want to be remembered as the individuals that ensured that humanity did not die 900 years ago. They want to be the ones to, whose names are going to be etched one way. Even Adolf Hitler, who, killed Jews, 3 million Jews, he still, is one of the most good individuals on the planet. It's somebody that everybody knows, even as of, JSS1. You studied it in history. These kind of individuals who take up these sort of responsibilities always have this at the back of their mind. They know that whatever decision they take, that decision is likely going to become, that decision is likely one that's going to heroify them in that particular instance. So we think that this is what gives them, self-actualization, and they're likely to take this thing. This extension wins this round because nobody really talks about why, this particular actor is going to take decision and what is, in it for them in this particular, instances. But very important, just as I round up, right, is that we think also that the issue here is that we take a choice because it is what we want, right? Up has to prove why we need to compromise that choice, because the point here is that you have a choice to guarantee longevity for 50% of human beings, right? Up has to prove to you why that choice needs to be taken away from these individuals. But very finally, as I round up, right, we also think that I think I've lost my notes. Okay, we also think that that individuals, if you choose option 2, right, you throw the human population into a pandemonium. Example is what's happening right now with climate change, but it will be worse because there will be an actual deadline in a few decades. So what you have is hoarding of the available resources, which leads to price hike, which leads to hyperinflation, which leads to the state of revolt. Government cannot take a decision that guarantees its self-capitulation. But if you choose our side, option 1, it's a gamble. Guys, humans are used to this. Religious people will believe that their God will spare them. It's actually an easier narrative to spin to the population, even if they find out, because it looks just like the status quo, which is random death. COVID and everything else, everybody was happy that they didn't die, but only their family members were able to die. We're happy to play that option. CJ.
Thank you very much, member of the speech, member of council.
Okay, so cool. POI is exclusively in the chat space. No point in except I ask you to do so. I'm going to do that by listing those applications. So I'd like to begin the speech first of all. It's my final speech here. So I'd like to begin the speech first of all to top points, right, for all the rules I'm making. Yes, so my union, my UTC. I thought the need to the speech I just finished begin was easy. So it's like waiting for the beginning. But yeah, I want to do. with that said, going to be beginning with 3, 2, and 1. So panel the house, right? This is why opening government cannot win today's debate. Even if you do not buy the POI that I drew to them, Farhan already shoots the entire case in the foot when he tells you that see, survival is particularly hinged on productivity. The reason why this claim I make is true is because they say they're going to target just 3 sets of people, which are like old people that may make about 10% of the world population, then young people that make about less than 10% of the world population, and then people that want to commit suicide that you don't have a way to fiat that will most likely not make up to 4% of the world population. It means even if you take them at their best, right? Even if they take that particular action, they still have to get about more than 25% more people that are not in that particular time frame. Meaning you have to target more than half of the next 50%, like you have to target those particular people. Meaning the entire of the people that both E and R on themselves basically fall flat like on their own foot, like by and large, right? This in itself is something that is very, very, very important for you to know, because if like, this is a very, very big fatal flaw for opening government case. Also our case and onto the exceptions that will give it this debate. The entire of government bench argue as though in their world life is like what they call sustained forever. Understand how that is not the case, especially as you get within the purview of the motion. In the motion, what simply gets in their world is a world where you extend death. Like you extend the time that it takes for people to die. Understand how death is still a very, very likely possibility still within the purview of their world. What I'm going to do for you is I'm going to analyze worst case scenario on both sides of the bench, different from the kind of analysis you get from Raymond already, and show you how comes the delta is one that favors our side, especially as it relates to the actor that we're trying to talk about, right? Because the worst case scenario looks like one where like less resources deplete after the motion already says, and then it begins to get all this other like what the like all of that stuff that comes with like the natural that comes with world division of resources. The worst case scenario in their world, however, is not one that is that good, right? Because their world talks about use of biological weapons. There's a reason why that word was introduced in the motion. It's because of the nature of biological weapons. So that's why that biological weapons do not kill naturally. So as an hepatitis, it looks like there's like introduction of bacterial virus, like a bacterial virus of fungal agents into your system. The problem with that is because of the way in which they kill people, guys. Understand how it looks like people gasping for breath for a long period of time. That's why it's nicknamed like the ProHarm atomic bomb, guys. So it looks like killing people in very, very outgoing, harsh, and very, very severe type condition. It's something that is even more worse than torture. We think that on the level of principle in itself, this in itself is something that is particularly like what's called chaotic for you to want to kill people, especially considering the fact that this actor wants what's best for humanity. It means that the metric that you should join this debate is in what world are you now more likely to give to the people what the people would have wanted. Don't think anybody would want to die in this particular manner that government is trying to like what's called guys. The doubt that then because we say, oh, this kind of death is still analogous to the kind of death that you get within the our own world, right? But the delta is this: in our own world, people already know that this was going to happen. Due to things like scientific forecast and the rest of them, we use to forecast that the earth is just about to end. What is about to end? So it's like people like now having the caveat to have prepared for this end or for this like for this apocalypse. Like that preparedness is still something that you get, right? But secondly, is the fact that it's now more natural, right? It's not something that people force on you, and this is where the whole idea of choice now comes into play, right? Eze tries to counteract this by saying, see, a social contract theory exists. But this is why that analysis fails, right? One is because social contract theory only comes into play in organization that you vote in, or organization that you put in. Understand how this organization is covert, meaning that you not put them in. My argument of preparedness is a delta that exists on our side of the house, because this organization is covert, meaning you most likely can have this biological weapon in a covert manner. People will not know about it. It just happen, people will start dying, harrowing deaths, right? But the second thing it talks about how on both sides of the on both sides, choice is still being carried out. It's not true. The reason why on our side it's not this particular organization making the choice is because in a world where this organization did not exist in the first instance, the one that were pushing forward for you, that's the one that will most likely happen. So in a world where these guys like say, oh, let's not do anything, it's not them choosing for you. That is them just allowing like the national order of things to generally like the national order of things to generally like what is it called occur. So on the argument of choice, we still like take up that particular clash. But the third bit of thing to then talk about is on how comes it now becomes like they no longer take that huge levels of probability like for that particular action. But then the next bit of extension that will give it to in this debate, and this is where we win. And this is on the clash of legacy, right? We agree with Eze that these folk care about their legacy to a very, very high extent. Please, when it's 5 minutes, Ayodele indicating the test for me, right? We believe that these people in themselves, like they care a lot about their legacy. But we think that in as much as they care about their legacy, nobody wants to get the kind of legacy that Hitler has. Like this organization, like it's a logical thing to say. Like many people, like it's a national majority of people want to have good legacy. We think that the kind of legacy that is most likely sent, like within the purview of like government's world, is a very, very chaotic like legacy. But before I go on, I'll take fire and shoot Oji for the sake of the diagonal. 3, 2, easy, shoot. 3, 2, and 1. Continue my speech. That was my time was continue. I'm continuing my speech. Please sit and continue my speech. Time has gone. So the reason why we can make this claim as it relates to their legacy is because of this, right? Understand this in a world where they pass like this virus, and it was just highlighted by opening, but it was not analyzed the way I'm going to analyze it now. In a world where like they take this particular action, this is defined as a biological weapon and it's something that is covert, people within the world will begin to find ways to manage this particular virus and try to treat it, or at least at very like minimum manage it. The problem with this is that people that have the wherewithal to manage this particular stuff are majorly people within more developed spaces. What it then means is that the people that are most likely going to die from this virus are going to, or from this biological weapon, would most likely be people in minority spaces, black spaces, and Asia, right? These guys highlighted it, but the impact is something that is very, very different, right? Because the impact then looks like this. What the legacy that these guys now create is not just one where they chose to kill black people, but one where they are not the ones that generally led to the extinction of a huge amount of the black race, right? We think that this is not a legacy that the actor would by and large want to live with. But the last thing there to say is that the end, 27 minutes now, just now, after 15 seconds. No one.
Thank you very much, member of OP, for that speech. I like calling off with, I have a timer in front of me, like it's counting. So like once it gets to 7:15, I know. So you can also have a personal timer with yourself in case you want to cross check. So go for it.
I want to know if I'm audible.
Loud and clear.
Before I start speaking, I want to say, if you'd allow me to say a few things. Since this is my last speech this year, when I was learning debate in 2020, me, James, and Denise were not really getting so much at it. So TJ sent us out to widen our knowledge and connection. I was totally lost because so many goats in my circuit were showing us what we call shege, what you people call shege. These people left us the way we are. TJ picked us up and connected us to a number of people. That's the first time I met Ping Pong, and Ping Pong connected me to Battleground. All my growth and all my process of growing as a speaker has been courtesy of Battleground. I cannot thank Battleground enough for the fact that they have brought me in debate, because I would be nothing without Battleground. I wouldn't be Henry without Battleground. And for that reason, I want to thank everyone in Battleground who has had an influence on my career as a speaker, as a person. I would like to thank TJ. I would like to thank James, because he has been there for me all the way. He's my ride or die. I wish we would be here to see this, but yeah, I love him so much. Special hi to a special person, giving me emotional support and has been there. Lastly, I would
Start your speech, Henry. Start your speech. Start your speech.
Lastly, I would like to thank Eze for carrying me.
Start your speech, Henry. Like you have used up a lot of our time. We have places to be. Please start your speech.
Okay, so preferred gender pronouns he, him. PY is only in the chat space. I'm going to start my speech in 3, 2, 1, go. So let me start with CO. understand that CO, member of opposition, his case is highly assumptuous. Let me first engage on his shallow extension of legacy. And opposition whip can't extend it because he's a whip speaker. I can't bring in new content. Understand that his legacy is highly assumptuous. But let me first start with the first response, is that you see that people are going to actually hate these people, because at the point where the world is going to be dying in the next few years, people are going to realize and are going to get information that these people had the choice to save 5 of them. Like, I mean, I had the choice to save me, they had the choice to save my brother, but they decided that both of us should die. No one can understand and no one can see that person as a good person. They see them as a bad person, and that legacy never lives. Understand that at the end of the day, they cannot Ebube cannot assume that at the end of the day that the legacy is going to be on black people. But then also the motion shows you that this is going to guarantee kill 50% of the population. We have the fiat to assume that it is going to be random selection. You cannot come with an extension to show that it can't be random selection. Yet by the format of the debate on technicality, I have the fiat to determine whether I choose who dies and who doesn't. We tell it is random rotary, it is going to be a random death. So even all people, 50% here in Europe can die, 50% everywhere, the number can be equal. It is random lottery. But that's not even the debate. The debate had to be whether comparatively, because all benches thus far missed on the comparative apart from closing government, why at the end of the day you would choose for every single person on the earth, the 100% of everyone to die, and not let at least half of those people die. Not actually, let's rephrase this, and not save 50%. The motion was about whether we should not save the 50 or save the 50, because everyone at the end of the day is going to die in the 10 years. That was the question of the debate. You get no analysis to justify that. The only analysis you get on all benches is just to show you that ultimately that people should not, that the 50% should not be saved. You don't prove why all the people should die. You have to, that analysis was failed. For that particular reason, they lost out on the debate. But then understand, they said that people will find ways of treating it. We think even the fiat already shows you that this is like a disease that everybody can be able to like not cure, because it is already strong and can kill people. I'm going to use engagements on Eze, because Eze has the best extension speech in this debate to show you why rank about all other benches. Understand. Let me start with closing opposition. I think I was in closing opposition. What does Eze tell you? Eze tells you, gives you analysis on the actor, and chair, this is another reason why we rank in this debate, because we were the only bench in this room that was able to satisfy at the burden of this motion. The burden of this motion, and understand this is what happened in like opening half, was whether we should do this decision or not do this decision. That wasn't the debate. The debate was whether the actor in question, who as this committee, should do that particular thing or not. This is not any random person. This is not Joe Biden. This is not anyone. This is the committee. We characterized the committee and told you that that committee is one that is hell-bent on making everybody's life of trying to create longevity, to make sure that the world exists for infinity, the longest time possible. So that decision is hell-bent on making that life possible. Notice that opposition does not give you analysis why we should then make the trade-off to compromise our own decision as people who believe in longevity and believe in all other things, where we should neglect our own principles. You get no specific and exclusive principle from any of the benches, be it OO or CO, at that particular point that proves that particular point of thing. But I'm going to engage OO because they were the most relevant team in the round, or take your POI. 3, 2.
The delta, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Harry.
The delta in your own world is not one of absolute survival, right? It's also one of death, harrowing death. Engage outcomes, the organization will be happy with doing stuff that people will not want in the first instance.
This is the thing. That debate, you guys made this debate that much childish. The debate is not exclusively about that death. That debate is about whether these people should make the decision. Which decision provides more utility? We already win the clash on numbers and tell you that we at least save a number of people. You don't save any. You don't prove why every single person is not worth saving. Why does the 50% people who have been good and have obeyed the law for thousands or for hundreds of years do not deserve to be saved in the status quo? You don't prove anything as to why everybody is a failure and must go resort to death. But then on the thing that makes every case relevant, understand that at the end of that, and CEO tries to like extend on it, but let me deal with it. This is the thing. They come and try to show you that their side is more natural. I have two responses to this. Understand that this death is not natural. All the things that will happen, COVID-19 was a result of people who are being reluctant and made mistakes to eat things that they were not supposed to eat. This was human conditioning. So nothing here is natural. Everything here is making of the human being. All the diseases, even HIV. Why would you have sex with a woman and then end up having HIV? We think all these things speak to the fact that it is a decision of the human being themselves. That is mean that this decision is not natural, but it is rather mechanical and based on human decisions. That is to say that ideally choice happens on both sides. So there's no natural death on opposition if they want to say that they have a natural death. That is a lie. But on our end, we show you that all deaths are natural. Why? And you see, Ebube is a medicine student. Not everybody in the world is a medicine student to understand that when they are sick, they are being affected by a virus. No, they understand that they are being affected by a disease because they get sick and die. Understand why at the end of the day that looks like a disease. It looks natural, and because it looks natural and everybody has accepted it is natural because of its looking, it is therefore natural. Basic principles. You can't justify that because not everybody is a medicine student like you, Ebube. Let's move on to the other thing, like opposition. They come and tell that, oh, we should look at the quality and like good life at the end of the day. You have you worsen people's lives because you put them in a worse condition, like as they told you. Because when you choose option one, hoarding, there's going to be famine, there's going to be poverty of a lot of institutions and deaths of many people. We tell you that you live a better life on our end, and they say that, oh, we think people are going to live in fear. No, everybody lives in fear. I could die tomorrow and I'm scared of that, but I'm not scared of living my life to make myself happy. That is the thing. Everybody else is in fear. So fear is a constant. You can't assume that it is only symmetric in our world. These 50 people are actually going to be grateful. So when we get legacy and like we beat CO because we show how we get better legacy on our end, but then we show you why we get more utility on our end because we preserve more lives and promote the image. But then thirdly, you also engage on the principle, which is very important. Why we should not neglect our own principles that uphold us, that make us better people. This is the motion about an actor motion. What makes me happy? What are my interests? Nothing was interrogated from Operation Bench concerning that. My own interests as an individual. Or did not even try to tackle that. See or tries, but they fail badly at it. Understand why we show you that at the end of the day, we should rather make the decision that makes us happy. Understand, at the end of the day, it is responsibility of protection to these people. We can do whatever we want. I'm showing you why the debate is what it's about, and that is why we win, because we reach that clash better. Eze is the best speaker in this round.
Thanks, GovWhip. Upwhip.
So I'd like to confirm that I'm audible.
You are audible.
All right, I'll start soon. Okay. Okay. Hold on, sorry. Okay. So, POI in the tech space, like, please don't just unmute. Thank you very much. So, panel, starting in 3, 2, 1. I think the problem with all of the teams that have spoken in today's debate, except Ebube, is that everybody assumes that death of humans is something that can be calculated, or is something that we can consider in terms of like 50 or 100%, or say something that we can just run with statistics. They ignore the fact that largely humans are very emotional and they act largely on those emotions. So it means that humans have a tie largely with the concept of death and life. And this is something that even largely brings a lot of communities together. The concept of death is not just another action, because it's something that a large number of individuals, and this is something that both conservatives and liberals agree, that a natural death is something that is better one, but it's something that they're more likely to accept in any case it occurs. This is why things like hospice treatment exist, or palliative care, because most people believe that it is essentially problematic for people to even die through things like terminal diseases or things like harsh conditions. They think it's like largely problematic. And I think that already takes out OG's case when they say that, oh, we want to kill these people because they have terminal illness, because they are largely depressed, right? So the idea is that killing them is something that is even hurts these guys the more. And this is something that Ebube talks about and we extend more on. But security to talk about is on the effect largely of of government's entire case with like humanity and the entire ecosystem, right? When you start to push things like bacteria and fungi into human system, it is something that directly affects the way biology will continue to exist. We think this is necessarily problematic because you continue to see a rise in terms of new diseases, in terms of new sicknesses that affect individuals that even continue to exist within these instances. The third problem we have with Goff's case in general is that there is a large disconnect because they say that this is something that's going to be a covert mission, but they also say that people want to have these legacies. There is a problem when we don't even know these people that would have these legacies. But then, even if we know these guys, I'm going to show you how that legacy is something that's even largely problematic. In our world, these guys have the legacy that they are able to ensure, that people and humanity continue to survive. And again, humanity's survival is not just about how long, but about how well, right? Because you want to ensure that humanity has the best the best experience in head to survive. We think that now what you're able to get that one, not only because they're less likely to have things like revolts, right? The reason why they're less likely to have revolts in our world is because government or political institutions are not going to be at fault. This is something that is largely caused by nature, and this is something that Ebube tries to show you as to how the natural course of events is something that people are most likely going to be willingly able to prepare for, but two, they're less likely to revolt against the government in those instances. In government world, you see how you're going to get backlash because government or this institution are going to be tagged as the villains in those cases. We think that is necessarily problematic. So let us attack OG's case in like most of their core arguments. They talk about how largely in our world you're gambling with individuals. We think that gamble exists in both worlds. We think that in our world the gamble is justified because the government or political institutions do not have any hand in this individual death. So the death is caused by natural occurrence or the massive nature of how humans have essentially destroyed Earth. So it's by our own hands we die. And I think we're fine with that because it's even something that we can live with. But on the second level of analysis is to say that individuals are able to, sympathize with the political institutions. That means they're less likely to have those things like revolt. On the third thing, in terms of like legacy, we think that nobody wants to have the kind of legacy of something that largely not only caused the elimination of a large number of individuals by their own hands, but to the destruction of all of the building blocks of essentially ensuring that humans are able to survive together within spaces. I'll take one PI from OG now. Halimat, shoot.
All right.
Okay.
The first thing we explain in our case is to tell you that this taking away half of the population is something that is very possible because we have population of old people that are over 70% all over the world. But besides that, your case is one that hints on the fact that you can kill people, let's wait for them to die amidst all of the traumas, all of the things that will be happening,
I think largely it is very speculative to say that we have over 70% of people that are terminally ill and want to kill themselves. But even if you say that is essentially true, we still show you how those things not only cause an effect in terms of the social uprising that will exist after this status, after what they do, but two, the biological impact of those things that Halimat wants to talk about, right? So it means that all these bacteria that you release within status quo will continue to exist because bacteria don't just die when humans die. So you need to understand that this is something that largely affects the ecosystem within status quo. Why is that problematic for these individuals that make up this committee? We think because their job is essentially to defend human legitimacy, human survival. This is something that everybody agrees with. We don't think that human survival only hinges on the fact of maybe death or life. It goes beyond to show you how humans have essentially ensured that different society can coexist within spaces, within status quo. That is to say that humans have largely developed their society to ensure that we can all live harmoniously to a large extent. the problem with with government's case is that at a point where minute amount of people now make this decision, because AB already shows you how blacks are most likely to be on the short end of the stick, right? The problem with this is that you now create all of those biases and all of those hatred that has existed over the years and has taken hundreds of years to cure. We think that that is problematic because at a point in time where even if there is even a possibility of human survival within future species, we think that that distrust is something that is necessarily problematic. But even if, like as the motion rightly say, there is no possibility of that things to uprise, right? We think that the remaining 1,000 years is going to be a lot hinged on people not being able to trust each other. That means you see revolt existing within these spaces. We think that lastly, closure is a thing that is very important for humans, right? At the point where you don't give this individual closure, especially when you just want to take them out and their family out completely, we think that they're most likely to have a lot of other backlash that exists within society. Proud to come from CO.
Thank you very much, Upward. That concludes the whole debate. Thank you very much, everyone, for an interesting debate and a good final. So, see you all very soon for the awards announcements. So judges, please join me in CO prep for room 1.
When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever I have, thou hast taught me to say. when